Hey Moral Gamers, we're back. Today we're taking a look at Altered Beast. Remember that Sega classic from back in the 80s? Yep, it's been reported to a lot of different systems. How's this one stack up? Let's find out. So if you're a mythology buff out there, you'll notice Altered Beast has the absolute best mythology ever. I mean, it's completely accurate compared to all the pantheons. You have Odin, whose daughter Athena has been captured by the god of the underworld, Neph. If you haven't guessed by now, that is sarcasm, because these are three different mythologies they're pulling gods from. But who cares? This is Japanese. They do everything weird. The goal is for you to be a centurion who ultimately rescues Athena from Neph, god of the underworld. Alright, fair enough. That's all you need for an arcade game. The game plays out as a forced side-scroller. You essentially are always going to be walking to the right, and you really don't have much of a choice. Enemies are going to come at you, and it is a lot of memorization, because there are key wolves that flash, and when they are killed, they release spirit balls, and spirit balls help you power up. And every time you power up, you not only get stronger, but you get closer and closer to the beast form. And your goal in every level is to get to that beast form, because once you're in the beast, you can just totally pwn. Doesn't matter what's around you. Now, each level is going to have its own beast, and there's 4 beasts total. 5 technically, but Golden Wolf versus the Werewolf, they're pretty much the same thing. You get the Werewolf, of course, the Dragon, the Tiger, and the Bear. And no, you're not Smokey, you cannot put out forest fires, but you can pretty much freeze your enemies there. The variety is what it was. I mean, back in the day, this was an arcade game, so, it's just enough to munch a few quarters. And munching quarters is what this game was excellent at. Even on the easiest skill level, Altered Beast is still going to wipe you out a couple times in the first level. I mean, it takes serious memorization. But hey, if you're a child of the 80s, you're going to remember how hard games were back then. I mean, we expected our quarters. We expected to go through our allowances really quick to play a quality game. Ultimately, the Genesis version of this was really toned down, and you don't have the ability to jump on stuff in the background, so yeah, it wasn't the best port, but hey, it was a Sega Genesis, which was doing exactly what Nintendo didn't. So with this title being a port on the PlayStation 3 of the arcade, it's also on Xbox 360, PlayStation 2 has a version of it. I mean, this one's been kicked around to a lot of different places. So the question is, do I recommend it? And Altered Beast is a game that time has pretty much forgotten. It was great back in the 80s, but now it's slow moving, it feels very clunky, and it just is not as fluid as many of the games we're used to. If you have that nostalgia and $5, hey, I would totally recommend it. But for most gamers, it's going to be one that's going to be a harder sell because you didn't grow up in the 80s. You're used to games that pander to you. You're used to checkpoints, save points, and hey, you don't like consequences for your actions. Versus Altered Beast, which really kills you and it makes levels draw out, and if you're not careful, you could end up fighting the end boss in your scrawny little human form if you're not careful. But then there's the moral aspects of this game, and this game deals with a pantheon, it's several pantheons actually, so if that doesn't align with your spiritual stance, well, A, you may not want to play this game. Also, the game itself does have zombies, demons, and other such that are coming at you, hordes of the undead, whatever, so if you have issues with that, that's another place that you may not want to be playing this game. So ultimately, I mean, I would play it. I'd play it with my kids only because it's old, and realistically, this game doesn't do a whole lot that would be too graphic or too intense. I mean, this was pre-rating system, and now that they've had to rate it, this one only gets about an E10+, so it's a pretty simple game. Not much I can say.
Welcome to your doom.